football, the Blitz is here on Election Day across America as we have 2 weeks remaining in the regular season. I'm Bobby Broyles along with Scott Meyer, and since it is Election Day and hopefully all of you are out casting your votes, we are here today to make a case for the 6 teams in the league that are campaigning for postseason play. So Scott, let's jump right into this, starting with the Towson Tigers.
Towson Tigers, I think they have to win out from here on out. Rhode Island, New Hampshire, that's what they have left. 7-4 gives them 4 straight wins. And against that schedule, 2 FBS teams, LSU, obviously at the SEC, one of the top teams in the country. Kent State out of the MAC, they're going to a bowl game. So their schedule gets them in if they can win out.
Next up, the Villanova Wildcats.
Villanova takes on James Madison this weekend, and Delaware in a rivalry game next weekend. I think they have to keep winning as well. This game this weekend, key for them in terms of beating James Madison. If they can win out, then that gives them a good win to put in front of the selection committee.
How about the Richmond Spiders?
Richmond Spiders have 2 probably winnable games if you look at all of the teams that we're talking about here. They play Delaware this weekend at home, and then they go on the road to William & Mary. I know William & Mary is a rivalry game, but if you look at what Richmond's been able to do in recent games, I think they're poised to get to that 8-3 mark and have some pretty good success in looking from the selection committee.
Now we have 3 teams that only have 1 loss in conference play. Let's begin with the JMU Dukes.
JMU, again, Villanova this weekend, then Old Dominion in a rivalry game. I think Villanova is going to be a tough test for them on the road, but they certainly also need to get to 8-3. A lot of teams have to get to that 8-3 mark given the national landscape. James Madison, tough one this weekend, probably even a tougher matchup against Old Dominion. But look for them to try to step up in these next two games.
Next up, the Old Dominion Monarchs.
Old Dominion is one, they can't win our conference title, but they can certainly start to wrap up some home field advantage in the playoffs. I think they're sitting good right now for possibly a seed. Maybe even if they can win these next 2, William & Mary and James Madison, get one of those top 3 seeds even for playoff home field advantage throughout.
And the team that sits really pretty at the top of the CAA standings right now is on a bye week this week, which means they only have 1 game remaining on their schedule, and that's the New Hampshire Wildcats.
Yeah, you talk to Sean McDonald of New Hampshire, and he talks about the fact that his team controls its destiny. Obviously, 1 week off to rest and prepare for a tough Towson team that's on a roll. If they can win this week against Rhode Island, they'll have won 3 straight, going on the road, basically a conference title game, if you will, for New Hampshire.
5 of those 6 teams will be in action this weekend, but before we break down those games, let's take one more look back at the highlights and players of the week from Week 10 in CAA football.
Huge playoff implications were on the line between 2 rivals on Saturday's national stage as the Delaware Blue Hens played host to the Towson Tigers on the NBC Sports Network. Towson would strike first in the opening quarter as quarterback Grant Enders runs the option and pitches it to running back Dominique Booker, who takes it in from 2 yards out as the Tigers take the early 7-0 lead. Delaware would answer midway through the second quarter as quarterback Trent Hurley connects with his receiver Jarrell Harrison, who breaks a tackle to glide in for the touchdown as the Blue Hens tie it up at 7. The Tigers would regain the lead on the next drive, 4th and 1 at the Hens' 25. Play action fake now as Enders finds freshman fullback Emmanuel Holder wide open down the sideline, and he scores to give the Towson Tigers the 14-10 lead entering intermission. Opening drive for the Tigers in the 3rd as running back Terrence West plunges it in from 1 yard out as Towson now jumps out to a double-digit lead, up 10. Delaware would rally though, with Hurley finding a wide open Michael Johnson from 25 yards out, giving Hurley his 2nd touchdown pass of the game as he would go on to throw for more than 300 yards on the afternoon. Hens have now trimmed the Tiger lead to 3. Delaware would take its first lead of the game in the 4th as Julian Lang finds a hole and scores from 4 yards out. Hens now up by 4. The Tigers would strike right back late in the game as Enders again calls a play-action fake and hits Holder for his 2nd touchdown of the game. 44 seconds remaining with Towson back up in front by 3. The Hens would have one final chance to extend their afternoon as kicker Sean Boehner lines up for a game-tying 40-yard field goal, and he drills it to send this wild one into overtime. Towson with the ball first in the extra session, and it's West taking it to the outside for his 2nd touchdown run of the game as he would once again eclipse the 100-yard rushing mark to give the Tigers a 7-point lead. Delaware's turn. 4th down. Hurley under pressure now and throws across the middle, but it's intercepted by the Tigers' Jordan Love. That would seal the win for the Tigers as they keep their playoff and conference title hopes alive with a thrilling 34-27 overtime win over Delaware on the road. The 10th-ranked JMU Dukes looking to stay in the race for the CAA football title as they travel to Orono to take on the Maine Black Bears. We pick it up in the second quarter. JMU up 3-0. Maine quarterback Marcus Wojciechowski looking across the middle, but his pass is deflected and intercepted by Duke's linebacker Stephon Robertson. The JMU offense would take advantage of the turnover as quarterback Justin Thorpe takes off from the pocket and scores from 9 yards out. Dukes take a 10-0 lead into the half. Opening drive of the third quarter, JMU driving. Running back Daquan Scott takes the handoff, races to the outside, and breaks a couple of tackles on his way to a 27-yard score to give JMU a 17-0 lead. Scott would finish with more than 100 yards rushing on the day. Later in the third, Wojciechowski looking deep down the sideline, but he's picked off yet again. This time it's Ryan Smith with his second interception of the game. The Dukes would once again take advantage of the turnover as Thorpe finds a wide-open Brian Barlow 2 plays later, and he takes it in for the touchdown. It's all JMU now up by 24. Early in the fourth, Thorpe would cap his big day with his third touchdown of the game and his second on the ground as he gets to the pylon from 8 yards out to give JMU a 31-0 lead. Maine would get on the board late as JMU signal caller Michael Birdsong loses the football, and Maine's Jamal Clay picks it up and runs it back 67 yards for the only Maine touchdown of the day. But it was the Dukes coming away with the win in Orono, heading back to Harrisonburg with a 31-7 victory to keep pace at the top of the CAA standings. Offensive Player of the Week goes to James Madison quarterback Justin Thorpe, who rushed for 111 yards and a pair of scores to complement a contest in which he went an efficient 9 for 12 for 108 yards through the air with a third touchdown in the Dukes' 31-7 win over Maine. Defensive Player of the Week goes to Richmond defensive back Cooper Taylor, who turned in 13 tackles, a forced fumble, and a pass breakup as the Spiders defense pitched a 39-0 shutout against Rhode Island. Special Teams Player of the Week goes to Georgia State kick returner Albert Wilson, who took a third quarter kickoff back, a school record 100 yards for a touchdown, as the Panthers fell to Old Dominion 53-27. Rookie of the Week goes to Towson fullback Emmanuel Holder, who caught the first 2 touchdowns of his collegiate career as the Tigers knocked off Delaware on the road in overtime 34-27.
5 teams that are still in the hunt for a playoff berth are in action this weekend. Let's begin with the biggest matchup of them all. At 1 p.m. Saturday as the JMU Dukes travel to Villanova to take on the Wildcats.
If you consider a game a must-win, it's probably this one. I think both James Madison and Villanova have to win to keep playoff hopes alive. Either of those 2 teams finish even close to 4 losses, I think they're doomed. But certainly a rivalry game. If you ask Mickey Matthews, he thinks it's a rivalry game. Maybe more so a rivalry type atmosphere there in Villanova, just given the implications.
At 3:30, it will be the Towson Tigers playing their last home game of the regular season as they play host to the Rhode Island Rams.
Yeah, senior day for Towson, and that's important given what they've been able to accomplish over Rob Ambrose's tenure there. This senior class is very important to them. They have to stay focused. They have to, they have to come out with a win here against a Rhode Island team that's struggling. Look for them to create some momentum heading into New Hampshire next weekend.
Another 3:30 contest this Saturday will feature the Richmond Spiders playing host to the Delaware Blue Hens at Robbins Stadium.
I think I said this before, but certainly Richmond has the best outlook going forward in terms of who it has left to play. Delaware probably one of those teams that wants to play spoiler role, playing hurt right now, flip-flopping back with some linebackers, playing running back and that kind of thing. But certainly something that Richmond has the ability to win this week, go into next weekend's rivalry game, get a win there, and find itself into the playoffs.
This one won't have CAA football title implications at stake, but could affect the playoff picture as William & Mary heads to Norfolk to take on the Old Dominion Monarchs.
Another rivalry game, if you will, and this one splitting the last 2 road opponent wins, or road team wins, But take a look at this game. Old Dominion has to win. It's working on home field advantage in the playoffs. I think a win over William & Mary creates momentum into a big rivalry game, JMU-ODU next weekend.
Now here is a look at the rest of this week's action around CAA football. CAA football fans, remember to log on to CAAfootball.com for all the latest information and join in on the conversation this week on Twitter using the hashtag CAAFB and let us know who you think will make the playoffs. Scott and I will be right here next week to break down in what should be a thrilling end to the regular season. Have a great week, everyone.